It's going to be a powerhouse of wisdom, featuring interviews with thought leaders, industry experts, and extraordinary individuals. What kind of hobbies do you have, and how do you still go ahead and balance them?
Yeah, so of course, I love doing exercise for mainly the fitness, and then my hobby now has become running marathons. So that's kind of my first hobby, and running marathons mainly for fitness as well as uh, go to different places. So
One quick question is I have: what is the education difference between India and any other country, for example, US or UK for that matter, as far as the early MBBS is concerned? Did you see any difference or?
my younger son did his MBBS in India, and he did his post graduation also in India. He did in fact one study in Cornea only. That was the exam from London.
Okay.
But the main studies he has done in India. My elder son, he did his engineering here, and while he was doing his MBA and PhD from IIM Calcutta, so then for postdoctorate he went to Boston. That was
Okay.
the thing. Maybe
Yeah.
he was there. He was there, and of course we always felt that India education is good. No doubt about it. We do get good education and we do get to do a lot of hard work, but I think working conditions so many times, as well as the approach to studies is definitely different outside India. So you have to get the experience of that.
Right. Approach, could you throw a little more light on that?
Uh, Especially now, as I was saying, the thing which has happened now is it's like again, like you study in school and you do something. Sometimes you don't understand also, but you just keep studying, doing it for exams.
Yeah.
That's what is happening now, even in the later studies. Also, sometimes some children they really take it like that, but so that approach definitely should not be there, and the wider approach should be there, that okay, I how to finally I'm going to apply this when I go ahead in life. So that I think is more important, especially in medicine. When I Because in medicine, usually first MBBS you just are studying in the college all those subjects, but then from second MBBS you are sent to the hospitals, and you have to do the subjects in college, but then you have to do the clinical studies in the hospital. So
Hmm.
there, when you are going to the hospital, so each case you look at, you should be able to go home and study that okay, this was a case, even if it is simple fever case, but then you should at least feel like going home and reading about the biochemistry of that, the physics of that, why fever. So that kind of approach definitely you need to have. But probably again in India there is so much of crowd of the patients also, and the doctor who is teaching there also has to do a lot of work just because of the heavy workload. So maybe sometimes it does not happen. The student does not get that approach. But there outside when you go and maybe the of course they have to do all the work, but then the crowd is lesser, so probably that could be the reason that you can go in depth for each case. That could be the reason.
Right. Um, Another question I had about regarding the same thing was, especially in India, pursuing MBBS or medicine, government hospitals versus private colleges, government colleges versus private colleges. Um, what is the big difference? Is it only about the seats that are less in government colleges? And another thing I wanted to know is that what is the main difference? I mean, the curriculum is the same. I'm sure the teaching could be also similar. Then why is that difference? And what is the experience for the students who go through government colleges versus private colleges?
It depends, of course. Now here in India, of course, the main difference is about the fees.
Okay.
So the private colleges have much higher fees than the government colleges. The government colleges, of course, why they have less number of seats, though of course now the number of colleges have been slowly increasing. They cannot increase the seats because they have only that much of capacity as far as the teaching staff and other facilities are concerned. But what has happened is, maybe in my times when I entered medicine, that was 1975, from that to now, the increase in population is so much. So
Mhm.
there are so many students which would like to do, and then that's the ratio is really less. Probably that was the reason private colleges were allowed to come into place. So private colleges, some of them are doing good. They are also giving good education. Only thing is, so many times they don't have the clinical material. Like the hospital they are attached to. So probably they are not the hospitals where you really get so many cases, and that's the reason you don't get to see so many patients and you don't get to learn. First thing. The second thing sometimes happens is, uh, because in private colleges, sometimes it is the student gets admitted because his father has money, or his mother, whoever, his parents have money to give that fees. So sometimes they have that attitude that, okay, they are there, they are doing it for me. So maybe like they're not really bothered about the studies. But here in government college, usually they don't come from the sometimes the strata of the society where they really need to do the work. They know they have come from that, what to say, class of society. That could
Right.
be the difference, of course. And then government colleges, they are attached to the government hospitals, and they're always flooded with the patients. One ward can take only 40 patients, the ward will be filled with 100 patients. So you do get a lot of patients there. But then now private colleges also, some of them are equally good.
Right. So you might want to give a message to the government through a podcast that please go ahead and increase not the seats, but colleges all in together. Eventually, the seats will increase as well. And this might also help the society at a larger extent because of ever increasing populations and wards being filled all the time and flooded rather with patients who also need their attention. And with less number of doctors and less number of interns or whatsoever, not every patient probably may get that kind of an attention that's required. But if increasing those many colleges and hospitals, if that's going to help, why not? Right.
Right.
Um, Another question I had, especially since your son is also an ophthalmologist, did he ever think about going ahead and pursuing his, I don't know, postgraduate studies, probably from the US or the UK for that matter? And what could be those preparations that one needs to go through? We've heard about USMLEs. I'm sure there could be something similar for the UK as well.
Yeah.
Is it worth
UK.
doing that?
Yeah. So we have the best colleges here, and whatever studies he has done, he feels he got the best of it. As you said, if you really want to go to those other places outside overseas, for overseas education, it's not at all easy to get, especially the surgical branches. So even if suppose you give those exams like USMLE, PLAB, and those for going to UK, so those exams probably you can definitely crack. The student who is able to do post graduation here with so well with such good marks, he will crack those exams. But then it's not sure that he will get the subject, especially the surgical branch, of his choice. So it's your choice. Like some of them, his friends only also, so many of them have gone abroad and they are doing whatever. Suppose internal medicine, you get, okay, I'm happy, I will do that, because the main aim was to go abroad, study there, and be there. For Ameya, the main aim was never that. He always wanted to be here, and then he was very, very happy whatever he has studied. And now he has seen it when uh, the other international conferences also, or international journals also, when whatever people he meets and whatever studies they have done and whatever surgeries they have been doing, and he feels we are at par, we are not at all behind. So then it's fine, I can be here. So maybe probably later, just to get that experience, or maybe if there is something very, very special, which he feels that it's a niche and then I am not getting it here, he might go just for those fellowships which are available, which of course are relatively easy now for him with that experience. So he might do that.
Right. So you've been through your days of MBBS and medicine. You've seen a mayor going through his days of medicine. What is one thing that you might want to change about the education system as far as medicine is concerned that might probably help in a good way for students? It could be anything. And what do you think is the bad? Not, I wouldn't really use the word bad, but certain things that is kind of limiting the students to try out, try out various other things in their own medicine field that needs to be changed or could be changed.
Yeah. So basic studies of medicine, I suppose curriculum has been changed slowly. like whatever we have studied and whatever updates have come after that. Now in my book, my medicine book, the immunology chapter was just of 4 pages. Now it's a huge book of immunology for them. So their subjects also have increased, the number of subjects have increased just because of that, because there are so many new things which have been added and which have been added to their curriculum also. So this is a very positive change, I always feel.
Hmm.
The way they study, as I was saying, some of the colleges are excellent, of course, and they keep giving them the application always, that it's not only that you just have to memorize the things, but then you have to know the logic behind it. Probably medicine, everything does not have more logic. Some of the things will, you just have to remember them, but then finally you should know some algorithms by which you finally go ahead. Like we were always told that if you get some case, you cannot directly go and check that patient, and you cannot definitely go for the investigations. So that is the change now I'm feeling when I get a patient who had gone to a young doctor so many times. The patient comes with a big list of investigations which are done for on the first day of fever.
Hmm.
So that is a big change, I feel, that like you should not be uh, doing your diagnosis on numbers. You should be able to diagnose the case just by the history also. So that has to be inculcated in their mind, which probably is not happening so well now. There could be again many reasons for that. There's a main thing I can see here. And now whatever are the other things which they can do are, they first have to not think about other things but think about the basic medicine. So you have to be good in the first knowledge of MBBS, and then go ahead and do, and there are so many specialties available now in that. If you are asking me how do you choose which because there are so many available now, so sometimes yes, it is a difficult part, and then sometimes we feel that the student really chooses a branch because it pays him very well.
Hmm.
So should it be like that, that because it pays you very well, or should it be that I will really feel it more challenging or more satisfying? But these are very difficult things nowadays, especially when you pay such huge fees and then you go there. Naturally, you feel I better earn properly and then really pay back that thing. That could be one reason, but not all are again like that, of course, that so many are doing giving justice to whatever they wanted to do, but it does happen sometimes. And the branch you choose, as I said, like there it's always said that you're born as a physician or you're born as a surgeon. You have that hand and you have that skill in your hand when you are a surgeon, and then you have that capacity to communicate very well, and then diagnose the things only by history and then you are a physician. Because we used to tease the surgeons always to make you don't have to really think about anything, you just cut it open and then see what is happening and then you go ahead. That is not exactly the case, but then yeah, so these are two different brains, I suppose, which we always have experienced. So right from the beginning the student has to know that what he can do and what he will not be able to do, because again, because of Amiya, I can see that so many of these surgeons, some of them are just struggling, just because that's development of that skill is very very difficult. So probably you better think about it and explore more ideas to be something else also.
This will really help students as well, going ahead, and also the aspiring doctors to be, the new aspirant community. Something interesting that I'm very curious, rather not interesting, but very curious to know about two case studies from you throughout your journey. One which was something that really made you happy and gave you the satisfaction, because kids are something that you deal with right from their birth. And if you can talk a little bit about one of your experiences which gave you a lot of satisfaction, a lot of happiness, and the one probably didn't work out as expected, although you put in a lot of efforts and your mind into it and your heart into it.
Okay. I remember one case. The child was brought to us at the age of around 7 years, 7 to 8 years, and the child came with jaundice, icterus, and the child had, of course, big liver. So we were investigating that child. Child came from a kind of low socioeconomic status
Mhm.
area. and for family. And when we were investigating, and then again the history is so important, taking the history, and then got to know that another two times before also the child had a jaundice, and child had come out of it, but now the child was looking more sick, and it was as if his liver was not really doing very very well. So the first thing came to my mind, there is something called as Wilson's disease, and which is not very very common, but yes, it is known, of course, to all the medical community. So somehow that came to my mind, and then finally, till then I had seen only. So this was, of course, when I was like after finishing my pediatrics, when I was in Thane, of course, that was the time. So when we really investigated thoroughly and we were following up this child, and finally the diagnosis was confirmed, and then we could treat that child properly. And in fact, he was going in failure, but we could save him just because the diagnosis was done just in time. And then we knew that Wilson's disease can happen to, it could be hereditary thing. So the other child who was 4 years of age, we investigated. That child still did not have the Wilson's disease. Those were the days, this must have happened maybe in 2003, 2004. So this was the child, 4 years old. We didn't have the genetic studies still available, of course, in India. So so many other investigations we had to do that child just to find out whether he also can get this disease, so that he should not get the disease, get into this trouble of getting liver transplant done. And that, of course, we could do. So that was a very satisfying thing, and then those were the parents who kept coming to us always. So that was very satisfying.
Wow. Okay.
And of course, something going wrong immediately. In fact, I'm remembering the case of a snake bite. I used to work in Hyderabad those days, because my husband had a transferable job. I was in Hyderabad before coming to Maharashtra. So Hyderabad, we had a government hospital, and it was a huge emergency service room. And then, as I was telling, we had only 40 beds, but then 100 beds used to be always full.
Wow.
And then that was a night where we got a patient, and he was not really looking very good, and he was again a little child of around 6 7 years of age. And then we admitted, and he was not at all stable, neurologically going down, and cardiac also, the things were not good, he was bleeding, everything was bad. And his father was there. And then finally, when we were stabilizing the child, then the father said that we think he got a snake bite,
Mhm.
because they came from a rural area. From Hyderabad, of course, has a drainage area of many villages, and there many poisonous snakes are there. So this was a poisonous snake, and then some other relative came with a dead snake. They had finally caught hold of that snake, and then they got the snake to show us. And anyway, we confirmed that it was a poisonous snake, and we started treating that child. So night, the child had come to us at around 9 o'clock, and then fortunately we had everything available. Anti-snake venom was there, and everything was there. So we were treating. I was on duty, so whole night we treated. But somehow by the time they had reached us, the venom had already reached so many parts in his body, so we could not save him. So early in the morning, finally we knew that no, now I cannot do anything, and the child is almost going. And I felt so horrible and so helpless and so bad. But that was, though my helplessness was there, and finally I had to declare that death. But the unbelievable thing was that the father came to me and he consoled me, saying that, Doctor, we have seen how nicely you have worked and what hard work you do. We know that, and we have seen it today for our child how you did that. But you are not a god, so everything is not in your hands. We feel very bad that our child is gone, but we know at least that yes, there are people, there are doctors like you all are here, who will save the other children, and then we will do something to bring the child faster here so that the other children will be saved. So that was kind of, maybe you feel very bad that I couldn't do things, but still, okay, I could see the humanity there from the other side.
Well, that was an emotional moment for you, I'm sure. How do you just try to forget it? Because this was way back. I don't know how many
Yes.
years, but you. The way you just
Still,
narrated the incident, it still sounded very fresh.
yes.